Everyone. Margaret is a medium and a working medium, and she will be talking tonight about what she does and also giving some lessons for new mediums. So I'll hand it over to you, Margaret, and thank you and welcome.
Hi, thank you, Karen, and good evening to you all. Good morning from South Wales, UK, which is where I've lived all my life, and I'm very patriotic. It's all very well being patriotic of your own country if I'm not patriotic of yours. So I'm part of you this evening, which is an honour. It's nice to hear you all chatting. It makes everybody feel normal, doesn't it, when we can see each other like this. My teaching days began many years ago by mistake. My mother, who was a brilliant medium, went to the Arthur Findlay College, and she quarrelled with my father, I think, and she said to me, "Come on, you're taking me, you're driving me up there," which I did. And there was a lady tutor there, Gay Muir, used to take the German week, and it was just a weekend course that we went to. And I was sitting there twiddling my thumbs, not really interested in where I was or what I was doing. I was just a driver. And she called me out and said, "I want you to give a message to the man at the back there." And I thought, well, okay, so I just did. So she said, "Turn your back on your audience, and I'm going to point to someone. I want you to give them a message." Okay, which I did. And then she said to me, "I want you to go outside of this person's house and tell me what you can see." Okay, no problem, which I did. And then afterwards, everybody was saying to me, "How did you do that?" Well, I said, "Can't you do it? It's natural." I said, "You just shift your conscious awareness and let the people who are communicating with you, let them do it. You step aside." And of course, Gay Muir recognised this, and so my career as a tutor in the Arthur Findlay College began. And from there, the rest is history. Been here, there, and everywhere by invitation, which has been a privilege and honour to serve not just the people in the spirit world, but those who have invited me and their participants. So this morning, and many people say over the years about empty churches. Well, I'm one of those congregational people who don't go to church anymore because of the poor standards of mediumship. I'm just about fed up of what we get from the platform, to be honest. So I don't go. And maybe that's the reason why we have empty churches. Years ago, if you attended a church, the philosophy was inspirational. It came from spirit through you. And it meant something. It had meaning. It wasn't directed at one person. It was directed at the congregation. And spirits are clever, aren't they? It was designed for the specific congregation that was there at the time, so that everybody could take something from it. And the mediumship was evidential. Today, when we attend a demonstration of mediumship, it's more like a game of charades, I think. Give us a clue. Because it's like guesswork. You know what I mean? I've got a lady here with brown hair. Who can accept her? Right? Okay. And now she says her name is Margaret or Maggie. Then somebody chirps up, "Well, I can take a lady with fair hair, but her name is Joan." That's okay. We'll work with that. That's why I don't go to church anymore. That's it in a nutshell, isn't it? And there's no respect for the spirit person, and the person who's communicating is standing by witnessing this poor delivery and demonstration, and probably crying in their cup of tea that they can't get through to their loved one. And Louise, I heard you say about how devastating it is to lose a mother. Well, how awful would you think it would be for your mother if she was working through a medium like that, banging her head against the wall when Louise is in the audience begging for her mother to speak to her, and her mother's begging, but the medium decides, no, we'll put it out in clues. She was 5 foot something, yeah, under 6 foot. Well, of course you'd recognize her from that description, wouldn't you? Mental mediumship falls under the category of perception and control. And perception is when we become aware of the visiting communicator. And the control part is from the emotion of the visiting communicator. Not many people understand that the energy is the personality. We're perceiving different energies. We're perceiving different personalities. We're perceiving different people with different personalities. But another reason I don't go to church is because every single communicator that comes through our platforms today have the same tone. Give them my love. They were here on earth once and they worked well. I hope nobody's going to demonstrate my personality that way, because they'll have a kick at the proverbial if they do, dead or alive. So the emotion of the visiting communicator, the language of spirit, is emotion. Through mental mediumship, it's make us understand what they want us to say. So they'll give us everyday things that their recipient can understand, and we possibly won't understand it, but we must perceive through that emotion what it is that they're trying to portray. And this is one of the parts of mediumship when we're teaching is so interesting from a teacher's point of view. When you see the student and you can see the spirit person standing next to the student and the communication going on, and yet the student is so confused. Why? Well, because now it's not you anymore, is it? So what we need to do at this point is to blend souls. Now, if you can imagine the soul of the visiting person being a ball of white light, and your soul within you being equally the same, right? So we've got two of them. So you cup them in your hand, put one together, and you just cup them like that, and you unite. And when you feel that energy, that soul mixing with your soul, you actually do become one. This is the easiest part now from here on in. You just let them speak. So you're able to perceive a personality. Hang on a second. My goodness me. I got a gentleman here. Oh, he's strong. Wow. And is he wild? You know, and honest and say, he's nothing like me. I am complete opposite. Or I would say, hey, I wouldn't mind going out with this guy, you know. Let's have a party. He's the kind of guy who you'd have a party with, and my goodness, you'd enjoy it. Or conversely, you would say, oh, he's not really my type of guy. Because what are you doing? You're demonstrating his personality. You're being part of him. You're being natural, and it is what it is. You see, you're saying it as it is. Then that person, that communicating person, and you, blending your souls together, he understands you as well. He understands that your limited vocabulary he's going to have to work with. He understands that not being able to give you it this way, you're not going to be able to portray it. Because even though now we've blended our souls together and we become one, there's still that mental interference, isn't there? And I've always coined a phrase by saying, if you're thinking, you're not linking. So if you've got the spirit communicator, you know, pumping information through you emotionally, mentally, and that, and you're trying to analyze it or make sense of it, you're blocking that flow. So all that you need to do once you've got this lovely uniting together and this blending of souls is to allow them to speak. Just let them do it. It's like I would say, I need to come to the lady in front. I've got a gentleman here. My goodness, he's great to be with. He's got a massive laugh. Oh, and hang on. As I saw him laugh, his teeth fell out. And you get straight away, you've got a vibration between the visitor and the recipient, because that recipient would say, oh my God, that's what would happen to my father. Boom. You're right in there. The evidence is 110%. You've got the rest of the room interested because they go, oh my God, how direct is that? How accurate was that? And you as a person did nothing except allow the spirit person to talk willingly, easily, and so with so much fun and bringing their personality through straight away. And then there's a little trick that you can do when you're demonstrating open in a big auditorium, where you can say, tell me about that then, and they feed you back at that minute, so that it involves the rest of the congregation, which means now that as you go along, you're keeping that vibration up. So you see, there's a little old wise trick there. You know, get them to give you feedback at the moment. What does that mean? Oh, well, whenever my father threw his head back and laughed, as you said, his teeth would fall out. So the whole room is with you on this. So you're working with the one person, but you're working also with everybody else. So that person then has made their ID. Not with, like you see today, you know, he worked on a ship and he went to sail and he came back and he loved his family. This is much more personal, because we're not talking for them, we're letting them talk. So he's made himself known, you know, he liked to wear a tie or whatever, etc., etc., etc. So we got that. And now he's come to say what he wants to say. And it's personal. This is a father talking to their daughter. It could be that they want their daughter to know that they're aware of a situation that's quite fragile within the family. We have a responsibility, even though I'm saying let them say what they want to say. You know, you get that feeling of, oh, hang on a second, in this public place, this is a little bit personal. So you quickly say to them, I'll do it this way. That's the only time I allow my mind to actually change something. Other than that, it's nice for the recipient to know Dad is talking about James, who is your son. That's right, yes, yes. Because how did I know that? Because the moment that they said the name James, I saw my son. Now, I know that my son has no place in this communication at all, except that he is a son. That's Spirit's quick way of telling me this is who James is. James is your son. Yes, that's right. He only said James, and I had the vision of my son. They're well aware of what's going on around James at the moment, and they want you to know that. Whew, thank you. And your prayers, where James is concerned, your father has taken them on board. That must be so much of a relief for that recipient to know that Dad is answering her prayers. But how often do you hear that today, that personal side of things? That how often do you hear that comfort in the way that it's being portrayed through you, in the way that this, the language of Spirit is emotion? Where is the emotion that goes with the delivery? I think the lack of teaching today is that if you cannot see the visitor, the communicating spirit with your student, then give it up. Help them in other ways. Because if you can't see, feel, or hear what the student is, then how can you help them? How can you say to them, no, you've got that wrong. Look at it this way. Look at it that way. It drives me insane when I hear students want to speak for the spirit world. As I use Louisa as an example there. It's because of lack of confidence, isn't it? And it's what they think they have to do because the last medium did it and the medium before that did it. It's just a lack of confidence giving yourself to that spirit communicator. And yet, that's the only way to do it. I will guarantee you 99.9% that it will be accurate to the point and what's needed. Can't guarantee 100% because we're always part of our communication process, being physically aware. So I have made a few notes. I'm not sticking to any of them, I can tell. Let's see, if I draw a blank, it's probably my sake. Right, okay. Yeah, I said all that, right? I'm going to let Spirit speak to you in a minute because it's easier for me. Blending souls, yeah, I've done that. Done that. Okay. Yeah, understanding the energies and personalities, but when I hear students talk about the energy is strong, first thing I would say to them is, can you tell me what you mean by that? And then they look at you to say, well, this is the jargon we use. Don't you know what a strong energy is? No, I only know what a personal energy is. You tell me what you mean by the energy is strong. It's like Star Wars, isn't it? You know, the energy is strong in this one. But talk to me about the naturalness of your mediumship. What? What do you mean by strong energy? You know, define it. What is it? What do you mean? How are you going to deliver that strong energy? Right, okay, so we'll deliver it this way. Oh my God, can anybody take a man who's strong, energy? Oh, oh, well, I walk because you frightened me to death. What is this spirit world that makes all these noises and all these expressions? So how much fun can you have as a tutor when you get somebody like this? You can break them down. And this is why I would love to have Clarina in my life, to get her under my wing and give her a few, you know, claps around the head and say, this is the way to do it. Come on, girl, we can get this together. To me, mediumship is the most natural way of communication ever, ever, ever. From a little girl, I've spoken to them, they've spoken to me, we've been together. They tell me I'm wrong, I tell them I'm not. They tell me I'm right, I tell them I know. You know, it's a great relationship, it really is. But the purpose of my mediumship, I hope, is to be a communicator for people who haven't yet learned how to communicate. And it's for people in a congregation or an audience, whichever, to leave with a better understanding that a communication can take place. That the reason for the communication is to prove that we all survive physical death, but that what I witnessed tonight from that communication was that those people not only say they survive physical death, but they've proven it. And the way that they proved it was through indisputable evidence. No one could have known that. I can remember doing a demonstration in a place once, and I love to bring the personalities through so much that the room is bouncing with energy, makes it easier for me to work as well, and everybody's having a great time. And I said, there must be somebody at the back of the room there, and I've got the name. I'm just making it up now. There's a David in this corner here somewhere. Hang on a second. You must have a white shirt on. So that's how spirit work. They talk to me, and I just repeat what they say. I never know what's coming next. And I said, right, this gentleman here, he's grinning from year to year, and he's talking about chicken sandwiches and a funeral. And the whole corner just burst out laughing. Because at the dad's funeral, the chicken sandwiches all fell on the floor. They quickly picked them up, brushed them off, and put them back on the plate. So you can see straight away how this gentleman, his first communication was something funny. It was something that they all knew about. It was something that happened. It was real. There was no, can you take a man with brown hair? Can you do this? Can you do that? Allow the spirit person to communicate. And that's what he did. And the whole area just burst out. And they said, oh my God. And then what happened was, I said, hang on a second. I need to come now over here. I'm being drawn and dragged by a lady. She's saying her name is Margaret. And she wants to talk to the lady there in the red jumper. Now, you've got an experience about a chicken. But this chicken was alive before he had his head chopped off. Oh, that's right. We owned a small holding, and that's how my mother used to kill her chickens. You see how you can allow people to use the evening just as they would if they were here. Then I can say, well, excuse me a minute, but I have to go back to this person here. Oh, that's exactly my mother. She'd butt in. It's all evidence, but it's all natural. And you would go from there, even if you were, I was the only thing that the lady with the chopped off chicken head, that's the only thing she had. She would say, you'd never believe what my mother did. She interrupted a conversation and brought in, remember that chicken that she chopped the head off? Yeah. Oh my God, wasn't that wonderful? That to them might have been enough for that evening. But do you ever hear that happen today? Because they don't communicate with the spirit person. They talk for them, or at least what they think they're talking about. I hate it when people say, no, I don't understand this. You're not supposed to, and you never will. Because it's not your personality, it's not your information, it's not your recipient. So butt out. And that's what I say to my students, don't get involved. Just allow them to speak. Now, you remember, we go back to their soul and yours blending together. Now, the more that you allow them to do this, the more you can sit back. And in fact, in point of fact, then, what is happening is that they're more or less talking direct. Because you can sit back and watch it all happening. And it's much easier. And the moment that they sort of go, Margaret, you go, oh, yeah, sorry, I was enjoying that. And you sort of have to come back into your body a little bit. But to step one side is much easier than having to think about it, analyze it, work it out. All the time this is happening, you're stopping the mental flow, the natural flow of the communication process. And when you see someone's face light up, as I'm sure Louisa would if she heard something from her mother that she's so desperately waiting for, and everybody else in the room, there's always somebody that we want that special thing from, isn't there? But how rewarding that is to the spirit communicator. And you see, the spirit world, there are no respecter of persons. They will choose anyone who's in the right place at the right time to make their communication through. But it's the duty of the medium to provide a service whereby we've maybe improved our dialogue so that they can use more words that we have, the more that they can use. We could be careful what we say, how we say it. We can make sure that we have a communication that's going on that is true, accurate, sincere, and that we can always know that our guides are with us. When I'm going to a demonstration or even a one-to-one sitting, I always say to my guides, right guys, now come on, I need you to make sure that these people who are communicating tonight know what they want to say and say it. I am a person of few words. It's either yes or no in my book, but there you go. I try to be nice on occasions. But I say to the spirit world, please get them in order and make this information so that, you know, the recipient knows exactly who it is. And that's what they do. But when a student gets stuck, they always want to sort of go back over what was said. Now, if the recipient didn't understand it the first time, they're not going to understand it the second time. And when you're thinking, you're not linking. So always throw the spirit world will have heard what the recipient has said. They will have heard the no, can't understand that. And if you're listening to spirit, if you're blending those two souls and you're with them, before that recipient is finished answering, no, I don't understand, they've given you the alternative way of putting things. And they go, oh, yes, of course, I know, I remember. You see, you'll always have that element of you in there, which could change one word, which will get the recipient to say no. And the spirit communicator will go, oh, I didn't say it that way. You have to be honest. And then I say, hang on a second, I've done something wrong. Apparently, I've said it the wrong way. Let me see what they'll do this time. And they'll say it a different way. But most of all, our job is to make sure that the information is understood and that the love that comes with it, not just take your mother's love, take love from the spirit world, that the love that they demonstrate is being received by the recipient as it is demonstrated. And then the next person who comes, visiting person who comes, is a different personality altogether. But sometimes then you see the student, if they're not used to the change of energies and realizing that this is an entirely different person for someone else, they'll keep going on the same vein as if this new spirit person is still for the person that you're talking to, the same recipient. And then the recipient will go, sorry, I'm completely lost you now. And then it's as if everything just folds, it all falls away. And this is why, as a tutor, if you cannot see what's happening with your student, and you can't say to them, stop a minute now, why did you say that? Why, when you felt that energy change, why didn't you acknowledge that energy? Oh, right, I didn't think of that. Well, yes, you've got a personality that you're working with. All of a sudden, you've got another personality butting in. Oh, is that what it is? Yes, it's a personality. They're real, they're alive. Oh, so how do I do that? Well, the same as you just did. You acknowledge it. It could be another communicator for the same person. Or they could say, I need to go over here, please. So then you say, right, I'm leaving you with that, and now I'm over here. Now I have a gentleman, oh dear, quite demure. Oh, goodness me. Oh, this is not like me at all. This is a really, really quiet person. Hang on, let me describe them to you. And when I say describe them to you, they will show you things. Oh, I've got a big wart right here. Everybody would remember this person with this big wart there. Oh, that's it, yeah. Bump. One thing. And you know, you can't get away from the fact. I mean, how many people have something like that, a blemish like that? Or they might say, hang on a second, oh dear, this person's taken their teeth out, put them in their top pocket. I tell you what, you couldn't have described them better. You see, it's that personal things that they will say to the recipient, because they know what the recipient will understand. They'll know what will identify them to them. And once we got that identification, I see little pointing going on and on and on. I've witnessed it here on SNUI in particular. But yes, okay, I know that is. Yes, you've got my mother there. Yes, she's the one who used to put the false teeth in the pocket. And she's also saying that she had 2 children. Yes, that's right. Yeah, I know where my mother is. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. And she's also saying that she had a brother. Yes, yes, I know who it is. You know, now they've come to say something, haven't they? So we've got the ID. We're happy with that without any hesitation. That is my mother. Now, with that, then you'll feel the change. You'll feel why they've come. So we've gone from the personality. We've gone from being miserable. Your mother wasn't a very happy-go-lucky person. Which, oh, no, she was always like that, always miserable. Right. So now, hang on a second. Your mum is changing the mood completely. And this is what she wants to say to you. And then if you can step to one side and let her speak through you, because then you see you'll have the content absolutely correct, but you'll have the emotion that goes with it. And there's things that the mother will want to say to the daughter, or the son, or the father to the brother, whatever, that will be quite personal, but it's what's needed at the time. So we are there to provide a service, but at the same time, we have to have the respect from the spirit world, yeah, because I certainly wouldn't do anything that would harm me, harm my recipient, harm a reputation. I would not say anything like, you're going to die tomorrow, or, you know, you've got somebody who's in bed, or don't worry, they're not going to be there in a week. I certainly wouldn't be the deliverer of that kind of information, even if I received it, which I have done in the past in a sort of way. So there is a massive responsibility that comes with your mediumship. And I think if you sort of wrote down on a piece of paper how to deliver a DEM, I don't think you could do that, because every single communicator is different, every detail is different, every emotion is different. So when we witness demonstrations today that seem to follow a pattern, it's wrong. It cannot form a pattern. When we witness demonstrations today that have the same end result, thank you for working with me, take their love and God bless, it's impossible. My mother would never say those things. Do we ever see varied goodbyes from the spirit world? Hardly ever. No personal goodbyes. Did your father ever take his hat off to people? And you know, did your brother, when he left you at the gate, did he ever make a rude gesture? Where's the naturalness of these communications gone? And this is what I say to students, that You know, if you want to be true to the spirit world, you have to be true to yourself, the recipient, to everybody. And you have to have dedication, and you have to have discipline. Discipline is paramount. You can't do anything without discipline, because if you're not disciplined, you won't let the spirit world speak, will you? You'll interrupt them. You'll say what you think it is, or you'll do what you think it is, and it leaves the spirit world in a dilemma, and the recipient not knowing what a clue you're on about. And then there's mediums then who just keep going on and on and on about what nobody can understand, and say, take it home with you. Well, they must have masses of carrier bags in churches today, because they're full of people who say, take it home with you. When we realize, perhaps for the first time, that we are going to be one of those visiting communicators one day, then we might make mediumship a little bit more natural, a little bit more fun, because you all know, I'm sure, that having witnessed the humour, the sense of humour that comes with those communicating people, it's out of this world, is it not? Okay, I'll leave that talk there for a moment, just in case anybody wants to ask me something, or if there's any comments you want to make.